Hello, everybody. Hope you had a good long weekend and you're fully rested and staying safe at home. Today we are doing the Moyse 24 Studies number 10, which is this one. So if you have the music to that, we're going to start with a couple of breathing exercises and some other exercises to around the facial muscles to get those warmed up, ready to play in the low register. Because number 10 is all about really getting this really full sound in the low register and then being able to articulate on that and also be flexible going up octaves. Hello. So the first breathing exercise is just again to wake up everything and feel how we're releasing our air. So what I want to do is always breathe in for 4 counts, but we're going to change how we blow out. So the first way is going to be breathing in. Going to breathe in 4, and then you're going to blow out bursts, 4 little bursts, and then a long note of 4. So it could be. And try to use all your air by the end. So we've got 4 beats to get nice and full with your air in the lungs, and then 4 bursts, and then a long one. Okay, so let's try that together. We'll do it a few times just to get used to it. So in for 4 bursts, and then a long one, and then in for 4. Okay, so that's the first one. So that's already making you start to feel a little bit more awake in the diaphragm and everything. Next, we're going to do in for 4, out for 8. So double the length out, but again, use all your air by the last beat so that you're not keeping anything back. All right, so it will be like this. Okay, so by the time you breathe the next time, the air should just shoot back. And I do it through the nose on the in breath and then out through the lips on the out breath. Okay, so let's do in for 4, out for 8. Ready? One more time. Okay, good. Now let's do in for 4, out for 4. Again, using all your air. So you're going to release your air even more. Ready? In for 4. Good. And then last one, in for 4 again, but out for 2 only. And again, using all your air up. So really just let that air go as quickly as you can. Ready? So you get to feel how you are. If you think of those as note values, you've got the double whole note, the 8 beats, and obviously you think of the end of that when you're blowing out, so you don't let everything go, but there's still a steady release of air. With 4 beats, it's much easier, and you can really just blow out nicely, and you won't run out of breath. Then the 2 beats, it's quite a bit more effort to let all the air out in such a short time. But that will give you a good idea of how to get really good attack on notes. If you want to release a lot of air quickly, you'll get a good vibrant sound that way. And if you have a very long phrase, you can think of the other one, the very long note, and how you released your air there. So that's one breathing exercise. The other one is more related to tonguing, which is going to be involved in the first variation. And something that I learned from my Alexander teacher was to, with the tongue, it's never completely relaxed. If it was totally relaxed, you would choke. So there's a slight amount of engagement there so that we don't choke. But that doesn't mean you need to really hold the tongue or grip or tighten anything. See how much you can let go of the tongue, and you'll still be fine. The body takes over, but see how much you can let go. And often with flute playing, when we start to think of tonguing, it's a little bit of a shame to say the phrase tonguing, because it means we're just focused on the tongue and not about the airstream. So I would suggest thinking just articulation, but also think how you speak and how does your tongue work for you in your own language, and how does it work when you're speaking a different language? Do you notice any difference? Also, when you're just counting, let's say count to 10, how does the air get released? What do you notice? And then when you bring up your flute, do you start to feel any difference when you go into the consonant of t or d? Do you tighten up more because it's in flute mode? And that's one of those little bad habits that creep in. So I want to try and just do a little exercise where we're not thinking too much about how we use our tongue, but how we're releasing the air. So can you put one hand on your stomach, and we're just going to count to 10 twice. So 1 to 10, 1 to 10, like that. And you're just going to feel how your stomach, when you breathe in, it comes out. And then when you start counting, you're just going to notice that gradually going in. And see if you can make it as smooth as possible, just like when you're blowing normally without any involvement of the tongue. Can you make the release of the air very steady? So we're going to just breathe in 4 beats, and then we're going to count to 10 twice, and just notice what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's not difficult. Maybe you could do 3 or 4 before you start to feel like you're running out of air. But make it very free with your air. Okay, now let's just do that one more time, and we'll do it 3 times. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the air just comes back. So I want you just to think about that when we get on to tonguing again a bit later. All right, so that's the second breathing exercise. Okay, so let's start with number 10. The first challenge really is to get a really good low C out, and jumping down from an F or a G, that can be quite difficult. So to get the sound as good as it is on the higher C all the way down to low C, let's just do a chromatic little exercise. So something like this top one here, 2 beats, on each one. So C to B, take a breath, B to B flat. And we're just going to try and keep the sound really equal. And if you start to notice where it changes, just be aware of that and make an observation. And that's might be somewhere where you've tightened in the lips or the jaw's not released enough. And I'll talk about that in a second as well. But let's just do that. So we're playing with our instruments a little bit. So C to B, 2 beats on each, but nice and slow, and full vibrant sound. Ready? Let's just repeat it. Next two. Next two. Okay, good. So make sure with that exercise that you're using as much of your air as you can, like we did with the first breathing exercise. Really send your air through the flute and make it ring. Okay, the next little exercise to do then, so we've gone down in semitones, which is a little bit more manageable for adjustments along the way. Next step is to do slightly larger increments. So we start with the C to B, then C to B flat, C to A. So we make the interval just one semitone wider on each one. And we won't repeat it this time. But if you did notice that the sound changed, just make sure that your lips are not getting tighter or the jaw isn't clenching. Try to think of a little space between the teeth and see how much you can let go of these muscles as you go down whilst maintaining a good airspeed. just as an experiment, can you try with your tongue, rolling your tongue around all of your teeth? So it's like you're going to paint all your teeth with your tongue. So all the way around. Just try that once. Okay, now try it with a really smiley mouth. Do you notice how hard it is to actually move? Your tongue becomes very disjointed and there's no more freedom there. So that's one of the things that we need to be aware of when we're tonguing, articulating, and playing low registers, just to make sure that this isn't getting tight or the jaw's not clenching, because that won't allow the depth of sound that we need. Okay, so just keep that in mind, and let's try this slightly larger interval. So it's going to be, again, 2 beats, 2 slow beats on each note, and we're making the interval wider, but we'll just do it without the repetitions this time. Ready, 1, 2. Okay, so that's another exercise to try, just gradually getting the intervals wider. So that's going from a C up on the second C that we have. That's often easier because we can get the sound that we want on that C more easily than the low C. So that's a good note to start from. But practicing coming down to a low C every time, we can do that exercise in reverse. So we have the second note as a low C, and we go gradually up from D flat. So we've got D flat to C, D natural to C, E flat to C. So let's try that. So all in the, again with 2 beats on each one. Ready? Okay, good. So that covers actually the whole range of this study, just from that C all the way to low C. And if you practice those exercises and you notice how if there are any intervals that are more difficult, just go back a step. So for example, if you find a whole fifth G to C difficult, just go back to doing a fourth F to C and come back to that one once you have sort of let go of the tension and you're really aware of where your air is going. So just keep practicing it in that kind of way. And so when we've got the whole study now, we've got C, A flat, F, C. So we've just filled in that octave. So if you can do the octave really well, then the sound shouldn't change as you come down the A flat and the F as well. So let's practice the first two phrases of number 10. And let's put it here as well. And let's just do it slurred first. Okay, so first one. Okay, so that's slurred, and then all we have to do is just add a tongue to that one. So what I want to do, another little exercise, just so that we're not focused entirely on the music here, but thinking a little bit outside, is to play a long note, let's say an A flat, and then we're just going to articulate. That's this exercise here. So a long note, and then 4 notes after it with the same intensity of the air and direction, so that we're not allowing the air to move up and down too much as we tongue the note. So it's going to be something like. Okay, so try to keep it in one plane, and that way the sound won't change as you're tonguing. Okay, so one long A flat or any note that you like in that low register, and then 4 notes after it. Let's do it twice. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Next step is to try 8 notes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so keep that sound even all the way through. Let's try that. Let's go up or down a note. I'm going to go down to a G. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. And then we're going to do triplets after that. So let's pick a new note, and we're going to do 12 in the space of that long note. So I'm going to go to an A. Ready? 2. Okay, so that is related to this counting that we did earlier. So as we have a long note just blowing out steadily, see if you can match that with the tonguing as well. So if you think of the 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there's just a steady release of air. So try not to bump each note because you want it to come out, but think of it as one long stream of air. Okay, so the difference is, I'll just show you, if I don't know if you can hear the difference. So push, push, push on each one, or so just keeping it steady. And that's the type of articulation that we need for the variation, because we have lines on the notes. So we've got tenutos, and he instructs us that it's martellato and molto sostenuto, so hammered but sustained. So we don't want such a come away like the bell tones, but we want something a little bit more sustained. So there's just a tiny little bit of where the sound diminishes, but really it needs to be quite sustained. So let's try that again on that long note, and then just think you're blowing the same for the long note, but you're just going to tongue through them. So da 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 da, it just goes all the way through. So let's try different note. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, so you can try doing that, and then we've got that variation ready to go with that da 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 dee 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 da 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 dum. Okay, so let's just try the first two phrases of the variation, starting on the C, of course. So just the same as the melody, but we've got triplets through that. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Okay, good. So the low C with the articulation needs a super relaxed jaw. So if you notice that your head was coming up or even going down, it's difficult to get the sound that we need when we're compromising our postures there. So just try and make sure that you're, again, keeping nice and tall. Your head is lifting up from the crown here, and there's no compromise in the airstream. Okay, so just notice how that sound changes. So that, and then with the low C, just try a very slow vibrato, not super wide, but wah, 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 wah. See if you can get a shallowish vibrato and sustaining the low C. So it's like this. So we're just going wah, 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 pushing a little bit from the stomach, but not too much, because we want that more even articulation there. So with the tonguing, just add a d to that little vibrato and see if you can get the sound to stay on that plane. Notice if you start to tighten here, just let that go. One more time, just do a vibrato and then tongue. Okay, so that's how I would approach articulating on low C and things like that, D flat. One person asked about how to change the color when, for example, when we've got the diminishing just the end of the note of the low C. So you just want to release the sound slightly in that bit, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, bar 8. We have quite a stressed D flat, and then C is where the sound can be released a little bit. And that's just going from a very intense color, like an R or an E, into more of an oo. So think of an R on the D flat. And then just mold into an oo through the C at the end there. And you'll just get a nice release of sound, so that it's not always intense. There are moments when the sound can be relaxed a bit. Okay, so that's how I would approach number 10, and you can incorporate that into how you warm up. So you can do the slow vibrato, you can do the breathing exercises, the interval practice, and things like that, and the sustained sound all the way down to low C. So yeah, Moyse studies are excellent for multiple reasons, but that's how I use that one to practice the low register. So I hope that helps you, and please feel free to leave any questions in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be doing the Chopin variations on a theme by Rossini. That was a request, and I'll be doing some articulation warm-ups and things like that with that piece. Okay, so see you tomorrow.